While Paul and Keith Beasley were in Africa, they had the amazing opportunity to join in on a white rhino darting adventure. The Ulofsey family are darting their white rhinos to add them to the ROTUS database, which aims to record all rhinos in southern Africa. After the veterinarian darted a rhino, the group tracked it on foot, and eventually the 5,000-pound rhino succumbed to the drugs, and they got to work.
So the main thing we're doing is we're getting samples, horn samples, skin samples, hair samples. So we're doing DNA sampling, and it's called the ROTUS database. So there's a big database of all white rhino in southern Africa, and these guys aren't on that yet. So the main thing behind the database is if one should get poached, then you have traceability.
Help them at least in the investigation.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is incredible because, I mean, who else is putting this much effort into stopping poaching? From patrols to this kind of veterinarian work, I mean, it's an incredible amount of effort.
Yeah. No, it's a pricey amount of effort as well.
Yeah, I bet it is. Absolutely it is.
First, blood samples were taken. Then hair and skin samples were taken and recorded. After that, they drilled into the rhino's horns, which is a completely painless procedure for the animal, and inserted extremely small microchips and covered them with glue and sand.
So Alex, this is tremendous effort, as we've seen and talked about. From what I understand, I mean, this is largely funded by hunters' dollars, is it not?
At the moment, rhino don't really have a value because they're such a high risk to keep them because of poaching. So they don't generate money by themselves. You do have a little bit of tourism income, but on that, if you have 3 rhinos, you have the same income as if you have 30. So there really isn't any reason to keep more.
Sure.
So the only avenue that we really see to save the rhino in Africa is if they pay for themselves. And with the rhino being the only animal where you can have consumptive utilization without killing it, we feel that if the rhino horn trade is legalized, they can live their full lives, 30, 40 years, and every 3 years you'd harvest a bit of horn, and that would pay for the rhino's existence.
Is that what you mean by consumptive use?
Yes. So tourists are non-consumptive because they just look at the animal, and consumptive utilization is whenever you use something off of the animal. So either you shoot it for the meat, you shoot it for the trophy, for the hide. So with the rhino, you have consumptive utilization because you're using the horn, but it's the only animal you can consume without killing.
But just to boil this down, you're doing it because you love the animal. Secondly, with dollars for conservation to make sure it sustains us.
Exactly.
Because right now it doesn't make sense financially at all.
Yeah.
You get no help.
No.
No, if your only motive was business and dollars,
These wouldn't be here.
you wouldn't have these here.
Yeah, exactly.
There'd be no value. Or you'd have 1 or 2.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
the message
because
most people watching this would have no clue.
Yeah, because at the moment they just cost you money.
Well, on behalf of humanity, thank you for what you and your mom and your family and your team do, because it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It really is. The effort is incredible.
After all the data was collected, the rhino was given a shot to wake back up, and it went off back into the Okanjati Game Reserve.
In national parks, animals are managed and funded by the government. But on private land, which makes up the majority of lands in Namibia, the only way for wild animals to survive is if the locals see the value in having them. If land isn't turned into game reserves like the Ulofseys have done, it will undoubtedly be used for cattle ranching. And on ranches, wildlife are seen as competition to the cattle and will be removed.
The facts are clear. If animals pay for themselves, then they will flourish. That's as true in all continents of the world as it is in Africa. And it's simply because humans will protect something that is of value to them.
Discussions about hunting and Africa almost always end up with someone suggesting that instead of hunting safaris, why not just have photo safaris?
At Mount Etjo Safaris, it takes 72 photo tourists to equal the same revenue of just 1 hunter. If you look at the energy used, the waste that's created, the vehicles required, the international air travel, and the overall carbon footprint of 72 tourists compared to 1 hunter, it's easy to see that hunting produces the greatest conservation results with the least impact on the environment.
While photo safaris are not a strong enough model to save Africa's wildlife from dwindling on their own, they are still very important. The most successful wildlife management programs need phototourism revenue, they need hunting revenue, they need breeding and livestock revenue, and they need meat sale revenue. Not one of these programs will be enough to support the demands of wildlife conservation on their own, but together, we see from the example shown by the Ulofsey family that species can be preserved and enlarged and enjoyed.
So please, take the time to learn for yourself. Go visit Mount Echo Safaris and help us share the message that despite the good intentions of many people throughout the world, short-sighted laws and misguided opinions are actually hurting wildlife populations, and that decisions regarding African wildlife need to be left to African officials.
And last, but certainly not least, hunting is an integral part of conservation, because hunting creates value for wildlife by harvesting a very small percentage of older animals that can still be utilized for meat and trophy, and at the same time, generate enough revenue to conserve and protect the rest of the herd.
We're your hosts, Paul and Keith Beasley from Canada in the Rough. We hope that you'll do your part to preserve and to protect wildlife populations around the world, and be proud of your hunting heritage.
Hey folks, hope you enjoyed this video. For more great videos and content, please subscribe to our page and let us know in the comments what you'd like to see. And to follow our amazing adventures around Canada, please join us on Facebook and Instagram.